I see that housekeeping didn't get up here last night.
Well, if they did, we better call the building manager.
I trust you saw yourself on network TV this morning.
Well, actually, I didn't. I took a long walk.
Well, Congressman, you were magnificent. That bit about Kate's death was superbly played.
Not too syrupy?
No, not at all. I was proud of you.
Well, thank you. You know, I have been dreaming about this day, about this sort of an accomplishment. But I always somehow thought that this would be a kind of a frenzied happiness. Oh, I'm happy. Believe me, I'm happy, but quietly for some reason or other.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, either way, it's because of the same thing. We won, and nothing can spoil that victory.
Hello? Andrea?
Where's your little banner that says, kill the defendant?
Still as charming as ever, I see.
On second thought, you don't need one. Everything about you says it all.
And why are you here to hold little Stacy's hand till everything's gonna be okay?
Jealous that you don't have anyone to care for you?
Not in the slightest. My comfort will be knowing that Dave Phillips is found guilty.
There's no guarantee that that's what's gonna happen.
You forget that I'll be testifying.
Your hatred will only point up your own inadequacy, not your father's guilt.
My testimony will also point to your mysterious absence the night my mother was killed.
One target at a time, Amber. You can't point at me and your father. You know, I've been through a lot lately, and I've learned that a person that causes other people pain always gets that pain back. It's like a boomerang. It's inevitable. And it's how you deal with it that's the real test.
And I suppose you've come through it with flying colors.
No, but I'm learning.
3 cheers for Gil Prescott.
You know, Amber, you've got a lot of pain coming your way. And I actually feel sorry for you.
What's wrong? Gil still isn't here. He said he would.
I'm sure it's not what you're thinking.
Really?
Sorry I'm late.
Are you?
Yeah. How are you, Mrs. Davidson?
Well, I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Confused. Stacy, we ran into each other by accident in the hall. Our coming in together was just bad timing.
I'm sorry. It's still a touchy subject with me.
Believe me, there's nothing going on. I promise.
You should let me talk to her.
What?
Oh, nothing. Amber? I mean, my daughter. You'll be talking to her indirectly. By the time the trial is over, Dave, she'll know that you didn't kill Kate.
Harold?
Hi, Marshall. I wish you didn't look so cocksure all the time.
All rise.
Well, Andrea, where are you? Well, no, I didn't do... Well, yeah, I understand, but what can I do for you? What? Oh, no, there's nobody listening. Andrea? Andrea? What do you think that she was calling from?
I don't know, but thank God it sounded like it was long distance.
What do you mean by that?
Gene Redlin told me last night that he saw Andrea over at Wainwright's headquarters talking to Chuck Oakley.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, no, I kind of got the feeling he was trying to get some sort of reaction from us.
Why?
I don't know. Of course, Andrea may be up to something.
Oh, you worried.
Yeah. Well, you don't worry enough.
No. Let me get that. Might be her again. Hello? Oh. All right, thank you.
What, are you going to tell me?
Well, that was the guard downstairs. He's sending Chuck Oakley up.
What for?
Guard didn't say. Oh, but Wainwright must have sent him over to congratulate us.
Huh. I hope that's all.
We are here in the matter of the people versus David Phillips. Mr. Lockwood, are you ready to begin?
I am, Your Honor.
Mr. Webster, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Ready. Prosecution, may begin.
Thank you. The state calls Sergeant John Brubaker to the stand.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Be seated.
Sergeant Brubaker, please tell the court the date you discovered the body of the victim, Catherine Phillips Carruthers.
Friday, September 30th.
At what time?
It was at 6:35 a.m.
And when were you first alerted to the crime?
At 6:15 a.m., we received a call from a woman who identified herself as Amber Phillips, who called about a possible homicide at 1132 Banbury Court, Apartment D.
Please, tell us what you discovered.
We arrived on the scene at the same time as the ambulance. We found Kate Carruthers lying face down on the floor of the apartment, about 17 feet from the front door. Paramedics pronounced her dead at 6:39, and the apparent cause of death was a gunshot wound to the chest.
Any physical evidence connected with the crime inside the apartment?
There was a shell from a .45 automatic and a pair of woman's gloves. The right glove had powder burns on it, and the index finger of the right hand was ripped along the seam.
Was there any sign of a struggle?
None.
Fingerprints?
Only those of the residents, Amber Phillips and Gil Prescott, and Kate Carruthers.
Was there any other physical evidence relating to the crime outside the apartment?
Yes, we found a .45 automatic handgun in the parking lot outside the building. And our ballistics tests show that the bullet taken from Kate Carruthers' body and the shell found on the apartment floor were fired from that gun. It was the murder weapon.
Was there any other evidence, anything unusual?
At 6:55 a.m., we found the defendant in the parking lot unconscious in his car.
Well, tell me why he was unconscious.
I was later determined that he was allergic to a drug that he'd taken by mistake the day before.
Oh, really? Was he easily brought back to consciousness?
Fairly easily, yes.
And what was his behavior after you brought him back to consciousness?
He was groggy, incoherent. Effects of the drug were still evident.
Did you ask him why he was there?
Yes.
His answer?
He didn't know.
Why?
Because of his physical condition, the reaction to the drug, he had blacked out the previous 14 hours.
Well, what time did you find him?
6:55 a.m.
So, in effect, he had no memory from 5 o'clock on the 29th until 7 o'clock in the morning on the 30th?
Yes, that's what he said.
And the murder was fixed at what time?
Sometime between the hours of 1:30 a.m. and 3 a.m. the morning of the 30th.
Oh, I see. Well, where was the murder weapon in relation to the defendant?
It's about 10 feet from his car.
10 feet from his car. And you arrested him?
Yes.
Why?
Because of the facts that you just brought out, he seemed to be a likely suspect.
Tell me, Sergeant, does motive ever play a part in your arrests?
Sometimes.
Did it this time?
Yes.
Well, then why did it seem possible that David Phillips could be responsible for the murder of Kate Carruthers?
Objection, Your Honor. Prosecution is leading the witness in conjecture.
Sustained.
Let me rephrase the question. Did you know the defendant before his arrest?
Dr. Phillips was a casual social acquaintance of mine, yes.
Well, in your opinion, as a casual social acquaintance, was there anything you knew about the defendant that might have caused him to take revenge against Kate Carruthers?
I knew he was trying to reconcile with his ex-wife. I knew it was important to him. And I also knew, as everybody else did, that 2 days before her murder, his ex-wife married another man.
Thank you, Sergeant Brubaker. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Webster, your witness?
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant Brubaker, about the gun that was found in the parking lot, were there any fingerprints on that?
No.
Who was it registered to?
Gil Prescott.
The man who lived with Amber Phillips?
Yes.
Now, other than its proximity to the defendant here, was there anything at all about that gun that could be connected to him?
No.
The fingerprints that were found in the apartment, I believe you said they were identified as belonging to Amber Phillips and Gil Prescott and Kate Carruthers.
Yes.
But not to Dr. Phillips.
No.
Was there anything at all? I mean, anything at all, any shred of evidence in that apartment that suggested that Dr. Phillips was in there in those early morning hours?
No.
I want you to really think about this. Take your time, Sergeant. It's kind of important. Anything will do. The tread of his shoe on the carpet, maybe a button fell off of his clothing, or even so much as a single strand of hair.
There was nothing, Mr. Webster.
Did you make an exhaustive search for that kind of information?
Yes, we did.
Now, nowadays, I believe you have some pretty sophisticated means for finding out that kind of thing.
Objection, Your Honor. This line of questioning is irrelevant.
If it please, Your Honor, I think that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, not being real familiar with criminal science, ought to be made aware of how well our police department can do its job.
Overruled.
So, even with all of your state-of-the-art procedures, you still weren't able to turn up any evidence at all that Dave Phillips was in apartment D at 1132 Banbury Circle on the morning, in the small hours of the morning of September the 30th, 1983.
That's right.
When you did find Dr. Phillips outside in the parking lot, confused, disoriented, what did you think caused his condition?
He impressed me as being drunk.
Did you make some kind of statement to that effect?
Yes, I did.
But you were wrong, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
In this case, at least, appearances were deceiving. Things just weren't what they seemed. Now, the conclusions that you jumped to were possible.
Objection, Your Honor. By using the word conclusions, Mr. Webster seems to be implying that the witness was wrong when he concluded that Dr. Phillips should have been arrested.
If I said conclusions, I'm very sorry, Your Honor. Naturally, I meant to say conclusion.
Also,
One.
Your Honor, the witness has already answered this question. How many times must Mr. Webster ask it?
Objection sustained.
Sergeant, when the defendant was told about and then subsequently arrested for the murder, did he resist you in any way?
No.
Even though he maintained he was innocent?
That's correct.
Did he, or did you have the impression that he gave you any misleading information of any kind?
No.
Of the things that he did say, taking into account his confused state, did he say anything that might tend to incriminate him?
He did not.
Just one more question, Sergeant. Did you ever see Dr. Phillips express grief over the loss of his ex-wife?
Yes. He wept in the squad car on the way back to the station.
Thank you, Sergeant. Your Honor, I don't have any more questions.
Mr. Lockwood, You wish to redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Was there any evidence that there was a forced entry into the apartment that night?
No. The door and the windows were all undisturbed.
And what does that suggest to you?
Suggest one of two things. Kate Carruthers' assailant had a key to get in the apartment, or Kate Carruthers knew her assailant and let him in to her apartment herself.
Frankly, Chuck, you had me worried there. I thought Wainwright had sent you over to contest the election.
No. It's a good fair fight. You asked me to congratulate you. He would have done it himself except for the flu.
Flu, huh? You sure wasn't just drowning his sorrows? I heard you people had quite a bash over at your headquarters last night, even though you didn't win. Oh, by the way, Andrea Summers said she was talking to you. I was wondering how she...
I didn't see Andrea Summers, Sebastian. What would she be doing in the enemy camp?
Oh, well, there's a fair question, Sebastian.
Well, wrong information, I suppose.
You wanted me to tell you how sorry I was about Kate's death. In the heat of the campaign, he never really had a chance to properly express it.
Oh, please tell Hugh that I appreciate that.
I also wanted to say that I think you all benefited from Kate's death at the polls. She had a tremendous following.
You sound almost like you're sorry that fate didn't deal Hugh the same kind of hand. Like, what would the election results have been if his wife would have died too? Well, I'm sorry about that. That was a terrible thing to say. I apologize on that. I didn't mean to say that.
I'll be sure not to tell him that. Gentlemen?
It's a shame part of Kate didn't rub off on you, Bub.
Well, I said I was sorry.
Well, I'm certainly happy that he's professional enough not to tell Wainwright what you said. But I'm happier that Andrea wasn't over there last night.
Which means that she's still in Maine, as we had heard.
Yeah, but it also means that Redland was trying to trap us into something.
There you go, sweetheart. Come on now. Everything's gonna be all right. Grandma's here to take care of you.
You want me to take over?
No, she'll be all right, sweetheart. Just give her a few minutes.
And, you know, it was like that all last night. I mean, this cold is making her miserable. And she doesn't have a fever.
Well, sweetheart, maybe you should call Dr. Hathaway.
Well, I don't want to bother him if it's just a little congestion.
I know. Well, does this mean that you and Jean won't be coming over for dinner tonight, will you?
No, I don't think so.
Well, honey, there'll be other times. Won't there, sweetheart? Yes.
Well, listen, now, would you take over for a minute? I want to check the baby book. I think there's something I missed.
Yes, okay. Oh, honey, won't you at least stop crying for Grandma, honey? Breaks our heart to see you so upset, sweetheart.
And your profession, Dr. Stillwell?
I'm the medical examiner for the city of Kingsley.
And you conducted the autopsy on the victim?
That's correct.
And what did you list as the official cause of death?
Internal hemorrhaging and resulting shock following the penetration of a .45 caliber bullet.
Would you describe the wound and the course the bullet took?
The entrance wound was 3/8 of an inch in diameter. The course it took was front to back, left to right. It entered the anterior chest wall between the 4th and 5th rib, fractured the 4th rib, and continued on through the upper lobe of the left lung, causing a half-inch laceration. It exited the chest cavity just below the scapula and exited the body through the musculature of the back.
Proceed, Counselor.
As I was saying, was there any other signs of wounds on the body?
No, but when she fell, a light abrasion was produced on her left elbow.
I see. Was there any evidence that she struggled with her assailant?
No, there were no other bruises, abrasions, or lacerations. Also, as is often the case, if there had been a struggle, there would be hair or skin found underneath her fingernails.
And?
There was none.
Well, then, Dr. Stillwell, piecing together your evidence with Sergeant Brubaker's, are you able to come to any conclusions about the murderer?
Only that in all probability, he was someone with whom the deceased was well acquainted.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You know, I just love my profession. It can logically argue that 1 and 1 are 5, and then make you look like an idiot because your common sense tells you it isn't so. Now, it is your opinion that the deceased knew her assailant. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Isn't it also possible that she had never laid eyes on him or her before?
I suppose almost anything is possible.
I'm so glad you said that. I don't think we stress that nearly enough. Almost anything is possible, including the possibility that Kate Carruthers forgot to lock the door that night and anybody could have walked into that apartment. We just don't know what happened on that night.
Objection. I didn't realize Mr. Webster was giving his summation, Your Honor.
Is there a question hidden in there somewhere, Mr. Webster?
Yes, Your Honor, there is. It's a very simple question. Dr. Stillwell, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Sergeant Brubaker a little while ago. In your very thorough examination of the body, did you find anything at all, that would tend to incriminate Dr. Phillips? Now, I want you to be sure that you take all the time you need to think about this.
No, nothing that directly links him with the murder.
Thank you, Dr. Stillwell. Thank you very much. No more questions.